Now I think it's about time I talk about my opinions for Metroid Samus Return. Originally I wanted to talk about this game, but for the most part I felt like I should probably give it some time, let the game settle in my head so I don't have a really biased or skewed opinion. And with that being said, I played through the game at least 3 times, normal mode, hard mode, fusion mode, and I really did enjoy the game. However, there are some flaws with the game to be had. Now, does this mean the game is necessarily bad? Far from it. I actually enjoyed this game a lot, but there are some flaws to be said, so I thought I'd make a video to talk about 5 of the things I don't like about Metroid Samus Returns. Keep in mind, this is all just my opinion. If you actually enjoyed some of the things I don't like, more power to you. In fact, there might be some things you actually didn't like that didn't even make it on this list, so if you have your own opinions, if you have your own thoughts and comments, feel free to put in the comment section. Also, please keep in mind that there might be some spoilers in this video, whether I show some footage or talk about some story elements. If you have not played the game yet and don't want to get spoiled, feel free to come back at a different time. But if you don't care about spoilers or if you're ready to be in the game, feel free to stick around. That being said, let's cue up that video and roll out that intro. I'm kinda disappointed in the fact that there's not really that many bosses in Metroid Samus Returns. Now don't get me wrong, there are a lot of Metroids to fight. I did love the 2 new bosses that they added in, and in general it is a good game, but honestly I was kinda hoping for more bosses. In the case of the first Metroid game, there was only 3 bosses, Kraid, Ridley, and Mother Brain, but the remake not only adding the 3 main bosses, but added a variety of different side bosses that made the game much more amazing and made the remake much more unique to play. And I was kinda hoping they'll do that for this game, since it is a remake of the second Metroid game. As I was going throughout the game, I was kind of hoping I'll come across something cool, like, I don't know, maybe like a rogue Trozo statue like before, something to mix things up. I was kind of hoping to see other creatures. A lot of people wanted to see Sirius somehow appear in this game, maybe Yakuza, since the Biological Space Laboratories does have some creatures connected to SR-388, but nothing like that really happened. It was kind of disappointing. Then again, I guess it makes sense. I mean, SR-388 being a very dangerous planet with toxic atmosphere, X-infected creatures, and Metroid ravaging the ecosystem, I guess not that many creatures can survive. But come on, if Arachnis can somehow survive, shouldn't there be more crazy bosses? Shouldn't there be more creatures that could be considered bosses? So with the main gimmick of Metroid Samus Return involving Samus hunting down Metroids, you would expect to hunt down a lot of Metroids, and you do. And it is a lot of fun to hunt down these Metroids, everything from the Alpha to the Omega Metroid. It's actually pretty fun. The real problem though is that it kinda gets repetitive. Sometimes the game might spice things up by giving you a red version of that Metroid, which means it's much more aggressive. Other times, like the Zeta Metroid, it would run away, and that's actually a pretty cool touch. I enjoyed that part. But aside from those 2 differences, there really isn't anything different when you encounter these Metroids. Area 1 of SR-388 to the later stages, when you come across these Metroids, nothing really changes when it comes to the battle. Sure, in the beginning of the game, coming across an Alpha Metroid, it's your first time seeing the Metroid and you have very little arsenal, so the battle may be tough. But by the end of the game, when you encounter the same exact Metroid with the same exact battle pattern, very little difference here and there, and you can take down a Metroid with 1 or 2 super missiles, it gets boring and repetitive. The least they could have done is try to spice things up by maybe having multiple Metroids attack you at once, maybe have segments where Metroids are running away and you're actively chasing them or something along those lines. But the way it is right now, it's just a one-on-one counter all the time, and there's really no differences in stats or battle patterns. It just kind of gets grating after a while. Speaking of repetitiveness, I don't like how the enemies act in this game. Now don't get me wrong, the amount of enemies you see in this game is actually pretty cool and I do enjoy a lot of their designs, but they all act way too similar. All of them almost have the identical attack pattern of just immediately seeing Samus and charge at her. I understand why they charge at Samus, it gives Samus an excuse to use her new counter move that was introduced in this game. But every single enemy has the same exact pattern and it's just so annoying in a weird way. And it just kind of makes all the enemies blend into just one generic enemy. It's kind of weird to describe it, but that's how I see these enemies. The Golung, that looks like a cool little bat that would do something unique, but all it does is lunge at you in the air. The Horn Arnold, it looks like a cool little frog. All it does is lunge at you on the ground. The Gravit, it looks like a cool little armored creature. All it does is lunge at you in the ground. The Mohi, it looks like a cool little wall slamming thing, but all it does is lunge at you. These creatures, all they do is lunge at you, and it kind of makes them boring. Think of it like this. In the original Super Mario games, how we see creatures like the Bullet Bills, Cheep Cheeps, Goombas, Koopas, Hammer Bros. What if they all acted exactly like a Goomba? All they do is move left and right. No real differences. Sure, they have different sprites and designs, but all in all, they're just a generic enemy that does the same exact thing like every other enemy. That's how I see these creatures now. There's no cool, unique counter moves. They all do the same exact thing, and it gets boring. Now, you guys remember that video about 5 of my favorite upgrades in the Metroid franchise? Do you guys remember what was number 1 on my list? The Speed Boost and Shine Spark, with the ability of running really fast, destroying a lot of creatures and blocks in your way, and the ability of keeping the momentum up through multiple rooms was really rewarding. So I'm kinda angry that they removed my favorite item from this installment. Now, did this ruin the experience? Not really, but y'all, sure, we have the Grapple Beam, we can add that in this game. Sure, let's bring back the Screw Attack and all that, but the Shine Spark? Nah, nobody cares about that. I mean, sure, we got something kinda like the Shine Spark. We got that slow motion Aeon ability, which lets Samus outrun falling blocks at a slow pace compared to the Speed Boost, which will let Samus outrun falling blocks at a fast pace. I guess with that logic in mind, if they want the Aeon ability to be unique, they gotta remove the faster variants. Also, I guess trying to make Shine Spark puzzles is kind of difficult. Also, I guess the Shine Sparking technique it's more of an advanced technique. I mean, playing Zero Mission with all the Shine Sparking puzzles, it's a lot of people still don't know how to solve them to this day. So I guess if they wanted to make this game more accessible for the more casual audience, I guess they had to remove the Shine Spark, but man, I'm just sad. And no, the Spider Spark Ball is not a good replacement of the Shine Spark. No, honestly, I think the biggest flaw of this game, and this is the only flaw that I feel like actually ruins the experience for some people, is the fact that Fusion Mode, as well as some other content, is actually locked behind amiibos. I think a lot of people will agree with this, but I feel like locking behind content behind amiibos is kind of a dumb practice, and I feel like it kind of ruins the experience for some people. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the idea of having content rewarded to you for using these amiibos. I think the concept art gallery and the music room are actually pretty good incentives to buying these amiibos. They don't ruin the experience of the gameplay, they're just little things you can unlock that just make the game a little bit more better and give the amiibos a little bit more value. But actually locking behind an entire game mode, I feel like that is a little bit too far. It just kind of sucks when I'm talking about how much I love Fusion Mode and I love how they brought back the Fusion suit for this cool little game mode, and then hearing people say stuff like I've never actually played Fusion Mode, I can't play Fusion Mode, I want to play Fusion Mode but there's no way for me to play it, it just kind of hurts. Because there's a lot of reasons why people can't really access Fusion Mode. They can't afford the amiibos, because that's understandable. They can't find the amiibos. I can't even find the amiibos to this day now. I'm trying to buy a second pair for something. And the fact that the older 3DS owners can't even read the amiibos anymore. They need the new 3DS or the AR reader, which really does suck for a lot of people who actually want to access this game mode, but legitimately can't. It's kind of heartbreaking. I mean, do you necessarily need Fusion Mode to have a full experience with the game? Not really. Fusion Mode is just a harder version of hard mode, but there's a lot of people out there who just want to experience the much more difficult gameplay experience, and having to play with the Fusion suit and it's just out of their reach. I just think it was a poor decision to do that. But what do you guys think? Do you actually agree with my 5 gripes about Metroid Samus Returns? Or maybe you have your own opinions. Maybe you actually enjoy the things I don't like, or maybe you have other things you want to mention that I didn't mention on this list. Feel free to leave in the comment section, because I love reading guys' comments and I do try my best to comment as much as possible. Now, I know what some of you might be saying. This video is way too negative and you're nitpicking too much. Metroid Samus Returns was an amazing game and I want you to talk about something more positive about this game in the franchise. Well, if you felt that way, I actually made a video talking about 5 of the things I love about Metroid Samus Returns. It should be uploaded around the same time as this video, so if you want to go check that out, feel free to click on the video above. That being said, I'm the Metroid Trainer. I hope you like, favorite, and subscribe, and go check out that video because I'll be seeing you over there.